Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Medical Classes by Dr. Srinidhi Kumar Acharya. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel and also please give your valuable comments. My dear friends, today we will discuss about one of the important topics as far as OPD service is concerned. We know that when we sit in the OPD, pediatric OPD, one of the most common problem with the parents comes to you is that constipation. Of course, my child is not eating. That is one of the most common problem. And another important problem is my child is not gaining the weight. And third, probably the most important problem is my child is having constipation. Now, when we look into the basics of this constipation, whether all the constipation has to be treated similarly or whether there is any difference in different types of constipation, and what is the most common type of constipation which will be seen in the childhood period, and that should be understood very well. Now today we will not discuss those conditions where constipation is because of some of the pathological causes. Of course, we have got different type of pathologies because of which constipation occur. There are some structural problems, there are some infective problems, there are some mechanical problems, there may be some of the dietary problems. Okay, so there may be some of the CNS problems leading to constipation. There may be some musculoskeletal problems leading to constipation. There may be some of the hormonal issues like hypothyroidism leading to constipation. We will not discuss about those factors today, but we will discuss only about that constipation which is not because of all these causes, but still it is very common. Okay, so we can call this constipation as habitual constipation for your convenience, although the definition of habitual constipation is something different, but still we find such conditions in the day-to-day practice, and we should know how to identify this type of constipation. Now, when the mother comes to you and she is telling that my child is not passing the stool, and immediate next question that you are posing to them is how many days, once in how many days he passes the stool, isn't it? So usually she says that sir, it is irregular. Sometimes he passes once in a day, sometimes he passes twice in a day, and sometimes he will pass thrice in a day, and sometimes he passes once in 3 days. So like this, different types of answers you will get. Now what you have to understand is, next question that you have to ask is what about the feed that he is taking? So mother's answer is he is taking good amount of the feed. Now it is obvious that if he is taking good amount of the feed, he has to pass the stool. Okay, and the next question that you will see is the growth of the child. If the growth of the child is also normal, he is growing well, weight is increasing, height is increasing, he is also taking good amount of the food also, but mother complaint is he is not passing the stool, or child is telling that he is not passing the stool. Now one thing is very clear, that this is not a big pathological problem. If there is some really malabsorption problems or some other structural problems, this would not have been the presentation of the child. The constipation would have been progressively increasing, or constipation would have been because of acute onset, or constipation may be leading to the growth failure, or constipation may be leading to some of the associated symptoms. So there are many options out there, but anything is not happening, nothing is happening, but only complaint of the mother is child is not passing the stool. Now this has to be addressed in a different way. Okay, now usually we will call such conditions as habitual constipation because child is habituated for this type of constipation. Now what is the most common cause? So we can list so many causes, and the treatment of this is not the medication, and treatment of this type of problem of constipation is a lifestyle modification. Okay, so we have some altered lifestyle, and our habit, maybe food habit, life habits, or sleeping habits, or whatever may be, it is against the rule of the body, nature of the body. So body has got its own rule. It always maintains a rhythm in each and every activities. So when we are actually going against this rhythm, then there's a problem. Okay, vata, pitta and kapha, they maintain the rhythm, and we have to adjust our lifestyle according to this rhythm. But when we are not adjusting according to the rhythm, so then there are so many alterations and all such problems will come. One of the problem is this habitual constipation. Okay, now first thing that you have to ask about the routine of the child. What is the routine of the child? What is the waking time? What is the sleeping time? And what is the food intake time? Now, what is actually happening in the present era is usually the schools start at urban area. The schools start early in the morning. Okay, maybe 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and usually child is sleeping up to 7 o'clock and then getting up and then getting prepared for the school, getting bath, and then again dressing up and all those things. So mother is also busy actually. So what actually happens is morning child is not able to pass the stool, or there is no sufficient time to pass the stool. You cannot spend more than 5 minutes in the bathroom by straining or whatever. So because if you have shortage time, because auto wala will come, rickshaw will come, or the vehicle will come, he has to go there, bus will come. So there are many issues there. Even the child has got no time to take the morning breakfast. So skipping of the morning breakfast and not passing the stool, or not giving sufficient time to pass the stool in the early morning, that is one of the major cause why this habitual type of constipation develop. Okay, so this is a point number one. Point number two is okay, without passing the stool, in a hurry burry, he is going to school. In the school also, what happens again, when he go to the school, there are some rules and regulation. He cannot pass the stool in the school as he like. Even the urination also, this is a big problem. There is a bell will be there. During that bell only he has to go out. Now suppose if he is getting the urge of defecation in the school, the situation will not permit to pass the stool. Okay, because maybe there is no facilities in the school, or child may not like to pass the stool in the school environment, and he is not feeling comfortable there. So what happens now? Child start again withhold the stool. So child start again withholding the stool, and now the stool, when it is urges there, child is not passing, he is withholding it, so it will stay in the colon for a longer time, and then what happens is it is get dried up because of more absorption of the water, and the stool become now very very tight, and it is firm, and as well as it dried up, pellet like. So now this pellet like stool, when it is formed, so this is, see, the vicious cycle. When the pellet like stool, when it is formed, again there is a difficulty in passing it because it's very dry. A small amount is now small. Okay, it's very dry, and definitely when it passes, child passes the stool, child will have to have the pain. Okay, because of very hard, blackish hard and pellet like stool, just like the stool of the goat. Okay, goat. So ajavat, what we say. So that when child is passing that type of stool, definitely child will feel how to strain it, and when the straining there is also pain, and sometimes that hard stool when passing through this smooth anal mucosa, so it may leave back a scratch, and there may be sometimes even a bleeding, and also very very pain. Okay, high degree of pain. Now once the child experiences this type of pain, then again it is going to hesitate the process of defecation, and it will again start withholding the stool. Now this is how this vicious cycle go on continuing, and child is now habituated for habitual constipation, now habituated for the constipation, and same is called as a habitual constipation. Now this is one part why this constipation occur. I am telling this is one part. There are many causes. This is one cause. How, when we are not following the daily routine, this leads to this problem. Now after coming from the stool, when he get into the home environment again, he can pass the stool, but that time he is not getting the urge. When he is getting the urge, the stool become dried up and it has become pellet like. Now if he passes, he will have the pain. Again, child think about that pain and it try to withhold it. For the next day, the stool become more and more harder. Meantime, he is eating well. He is eating well, but stool which is formed get hardened and stored in the colon. Now, one or the other day it has to be passed, isn't it? But child is withholding it. This is how actually a simple change in our day-to-day routine leading to the problem. This is problem number one. Problem number two is again with the less intake of the water. Now, the child who is taking very limited amount of the fluid. Okay, again this is a problem. Now in the morning hours you don't have much time to take the water, and mother will give a water bottle, and child will go to the school. In the school also there is some water break will be there, and that time only he has to drink. Okay, and again in the school, suppose if the child don't want to pass the urine, then he may not drink, because in the school environment he is not comfortable to pass the urine. Again, to prevent that urination also, he can take less amount of the water, or he may be ignorant, he may not know that factor, so he is not taking the water. So again, this less amount of the fluid is also leads to one of the major factor for constipation. Okay, now who is fault in this is a different. Sometimes the school restrictions are very rigid, and that may lead to the problem. Sometimes child may be ignorant. Okay, or even some of the, I know in some of the schools in I think South India, Kerala especially, they have got water drinking bell. There is a bell is given, and child has to drink water during that bell. Okay, this is a very good step actually. Okay, but in most of the schools, the restrictions are very rigid, and child is not allowed to drink whenever it feels thirsty or whenever it needs. In a stipulated time period only it is given. So in that time, child may not be interested to take the water, and therefore it may lead to the problem. This is the problem number two. Now problem number three is less attention to the children. Now we know that in the present day scenario, everybody is become mechanical, and we can give the facilities, but we are not involved in that for the child care. For example, we can give sophisticated bathrooms, latrines, etc., or so many other things to the child, and we can at least for the best we can say go and sit there and pass the urine. But personally we are not involving in that particular process. We need to teach the child in the beginning. Okay, so although we may be very busy, and we will tell the same to the housekeeper. Okay, housekeeping maid, we can, or there may be somebody who is looking after the child, and we are giving responsibility to them. Father and mother is not directly involved. So all such things may lead to improper toilet training. Okay, improper toilet training, and that may lead to the problem. This is a third important problem. Now another is junk food. A child is habituated to junk food and the outside food or stored food, etc., and child is not taking the good fiber diet, and that is also one of the major issue for this particular type of habitual constipation. Fourth important is our food hygiene. Food hygiene, that's very important. What do you mean by food hygiene? Food hygiene means, see, we have to take the food in a stipulated time daily. In the same time we have to take the food. See, it's a natural process, isn't it? Today morning if you take the food at 8 o'clock, after 3 hours of digestion, metabolism and all those things, after 3 hours or 4 hours, so there is formation of the stool, and that will be passed. Okay, similarly by 1 o'clock again we will take the food. Similarly 8 o'clock again we will take the food. If you maintain this time schedule very properly, then formation of the stool will be also normal, and a child have got all the opportunity to pass the stool in the right time. Now suppose you are daily changing the feeding time. Suppose today you are giving at 8 o'clock, tomorrow child is taking at 9 o'clock, tomorrow child is taking at Sunday comes, so Sunday child is taking at 10 o'clock morning, and afternoon lunch has been shifted to 3 o'clock, sometime 12 o'clock, sometime 1 o'clock. So when you go on changing the time schedule, then again it's quite natural body rhythm is get disturbed, GIT rhythm is get disturbed, and how you can expect that the same amount of the stool has to be formed in the same time? It's quite impossible. Therefore, one of the very important thing is you have to maintain the food schedule. Okay, food schedule. This is most of the time it's very difficult to maintain such of things in the children, because so they are many times they are reluctant. Okay, so this is one of the important thing where this can happen. Now one more is sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene, similar to the food hygiene, sleep hygiene is also very important. So child has to sleep in a right time, and child has to get up in a right time every day in the same time. That schedule has to be maintained. Okay, because we have to follow the body rhythm. We cannot create our own rhythm. If you try to create our own rhythm, actually we have to maintain the rhythm between nature, body and ourselves. That's so three things are there. Okay, so when there is night hours, we have to sleep. Okay, so that means we have to maintain our rhythm with the nature. Okay, so if you go against that, everything will be get disturbed anyway. So sleep hygiene, you have to get up in the correct time, you have to go to the bed in the right time, then only these things will be managed. This is the fifth factor. Sixth factor which comes to our mind is diet, our diet. Now we have to take the fiber diet, that's very important. Okay, now we should ensure that our food should contain sufficient amount of the fiber so that bulk of the stool has been formed, and when the bulk of the stool is more, it is quite easy to pass. When bulk itself less, bulk is mainly given by the fiber, because fiber is not get absorbed in the body. Okay, so it will pass as if in the stool. So we have to take such food which has got very good amount of fiber, and that will helps to this. Third one is our food should also contain sufficient amount of the oily substances. Okay, oily substances are also equally important. Okay, because Ayurveda says snigdha mashniyat. Okay, so it has cholecysticopancreozyme enzyme stimulation. This particular fatty substances has got its own role in releasing of the sphincter of body and release of the bile juice, and for the purpose of fat digestion and all those things. Apart from that, to maintain the lubrication of the intestinal tract also, this oil is important. Okay, so this is another important point. Now third and another important point is about the exercise. Now it's all about GIT stimulation, peristaltic movement and all those things. So child should have good amount of the exercise, especially to the abdominal area. Okay, nowadays abdominal area exercise is very less. Even we are using the dining table for eating. Previously we used to have the habit of eating on the floor level. Okay, by sitting in the Padmasana and all those things. See, these are all very important to maintain the posture. Now we know that how children used to eat. Okay, sometimes they are sleeping, sometimes they are semi-sitting, or sometimes inclined. In different abnormal position they used to eat. This actually, that eating hygiene or eating methods also very important. Anyway, exercise plays a very important role. A child who is spending maximum in screen, maybe mobile, maybe the laptops, or maybe the TV, etc., doing very less or minimum or no exercise at all, how you can expect that his GIT has to stimulate, peristaltic movements has to be stimulated. Okay, so there are many issues. At least child has, we should ensure that child will be playing at least for half an hour or 1 hour per day. Okay, it may be any type of playing, and at least for such children the abdominal exercise are very important. Therefore we say many types of yogasanas are quite useful, maybe bhujangasana, maybe mayurasana, or simple padmasanas or vajrasanas. Okay, or many Paschimottanasana, Purvottanasana. So these simple yoga postures are also very beneficial. Okay, or simple unstructured play is also sufficient. Unstructured play, because nowadays the problem is our kids are not at all doing any exercise. We are giving all the facilities and we are making them busy in reading, tuition and all those things, and when they have to play. Of course in urban area there's a problem for the playground also. In the rural area there's a problem related to safety and all those things. So the problems are there anyway, and After corona time, this problem hasn't much increased because now child is habituated for not playing. Okay, so because they are now addicted to the mobiles and other social media and games and all. So this is another big problem. When there is no exercise, how you will going to correct this problem? Okay, another important is self-awareness. Child should have the self-awareness. This is quite difficult in smaller kids, but in elder children definitely we can make assure that. So these are the problems if you don't pass the stool, and you can make him aware and counsel him and make him realize the facts. So these are some of the basic facts which leads to habitual constipation. Okay, I am not talking about a pathological constipation at all. For the many parents, many mothers who are coming to us with the complaint that my child is having कब्जी है, बच्चे को कब्जी है, पास नहीं करता है, ठीक है. This is a problem. So we know that constipation will not lead to any nutritional problem because stool is formed only after the absorption of all the nutrients, isn't it? But constipation leads to so many other problems because you are accumulating the waste products there, and so many unwanted the toxic products may be reabsorbed into the system. And when rectum is loaded with the stool, the tone of the rectal muscle may be lost. Okay, so there are many things are there. These problems are there, and one of the most common problem with the constipation, as everybody knows, is oral ulcers. Okay, stomatitis, and another common problem with the constipation is again the headache. So these are the associated symptoms along with the constipation, and constipated child is always not active. Okay, so many problems are there. So what I mean to say is parents has to think about these basic factors. Now how to correct this? How to correct this? This is also a big issue. Now, number one is we have to adapt certain methods to correct this problem. Number one is we have to compulsory give good amount of the fluid to the child. Good amount of the fluid to the child. That's important. Now, a small kid, how will do it? So this has to be practiced by the adults also. Now, usually the child, by telling so many things, child will not follow it, but child will observe the parents. If the parents are doing the same thing, definitely child will also follow that. So all my parents, you don't waste your time on giving this lecture to the child. You just follow it in your life, and child obviously look into you and it will blindly follow you. It may be true with the fluid intake, it may be also true with the excess use of the mobile, or it is also true with the sleep hygiene and food hygiene, etc. So when you are watching the TV and mobile for hours together and expect that your child should not do it, it's a foolish thing. Because child learns maximum by observation. And yeah, one thing is you maintain the good amount of the fluids. Number two is about the diet. Yes, fiber diet is very important. And many times we have seen that most of the children, they keep the vegetable piece side, and only take the rasam, and they will finish their diet. Now how to do this? One of the best thing is you make a soup. Okay, don't go for soup of one particular vegetable. Whatever the vegetables are there in your home, take one piece and cut it into small pieces, boil it and put it in the mixie, grind it, and you will have a soup. And this will, you add some amount of the salt and other things for the taste and give it to the child. Compulsory, 1 glass of soup daily. So what this will do is this helps to correct the fiber diet or fiber amount which is required. One thing is, two benefits are there. One is good amount of the vegetable has been gone inside, and number two is good amount of the fiber is also going inside. One is fluid intake, second one is good amount of the fiber. For the fiber I have given the solution. Just go for soup. In the soup, don't select only one vegetable, select different vegetables and make the soup. Number two. Number three is correct the lifestyle. Okay, for correction of the lifestyle, what is important is, one is you have correct and fix the awakening time, 6 o'clock or maybe 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever may be. He has to get up in the same time daily. And after getting up, he has to brush, and after brushing, he has to go and sit in the latrine or toilet for a fixed time. Now, many times a constipated child may not pass even after sitting for 10 minutes also. Although he is not passing for the first few days when you are starting the treatment, compulsorily make him to sit there. So once he come to know that you will not allow him to come out without passing the stool, he will start passing. Now this is not a method. This is not a method to be followed 1 or 2 days. This has to be done daily. If you want to come out of this problem, parents has to put some effort, honestly. Okay, this is the third method. Compulsorily make him to sit in the toilet for some time. Now correct the food hygiene. That means give the food in the correct time. Don't change the food timings. Okay. And third one is don't give in between food. Now what actually happening in India is so our snacks are more bigger than our meals. So snacks means it should be very small amount. Now child usually consumes the snacks very much. That's also junk food. So junk foods are replacing our fiber rich food, traditional food. That's another problem. So always I will say that some amount of the junk food child usually like, we cannot avoid it. So give it at least after taking the routine food. आप जो है सुबह का नाश्ता करने के बाद उसको थोड़ा बहुत चिप्स दे दो खाने के लिए. पहले आप चिप्स दे देंगे, उसके बाद वो नाश्ता क्यों खाएगा? Okay, so you just tell the baby, the child, that if you complete your regular meal, then only I will give the chips or junk food. Of course, junk foods we do not recommend, but still, child may desire of it once in a while. You can give it by telling this. But हम क्या करते हैं कि हम जब भी बच्चा भूखा होता है सबसे पहले जंक फूड दे देते हैं और उसके बाद दूसरा खाना क्यों खाएगा? वो नहीं खाएगा. So that's the big problem. So this is how fix the schedule. एक बार once you given the morning nasta or breakfast etc., then for the next 3 hours you should not give anything. In between he can drink the water only. That's all. But now what we are doing is every half an hourly child is eating something. See, this totally disturbs the body rhythm, GIT rhythm. This is not the way. Okay. So every half an hourly you are filling your stomach by some of the other things continuously. This is not the way. When child is taking the food, give him sufficient amount of the food, get its stomach full. Then for the next 2 or 3 hours, don't give anything other than water. And after 3 hours, again go for a big meal. And night hours again one more meal. Or maybe in the evening a small amount of the snacks with some milk and. So this is very important. Okay, once you are not following this method, so child will have so many problems. So this is correction of the food. Sleep hygiene, correction of the sleep hygiene, that's also very important. When the parents are sleeping at 12 o'clock and you cannot expect that child has to sleep at 9 o'clock. No, if you want to correct your child, you have to follow it. Sleep hygiene. Because te vyapino birannabhyo ado madhya adi samaha. That means there's a rhythm maintenance is there. You have to follow that rhythm of the body and you have to follow the rhythm of the nature. Then only your body will be in the homeostasis. So therefore, sleep hygiene, food hygiene, then diet fiber, good amount of the water. Okay. And this has to be exercise. Exercise is another important thing. Let him play something, not the mobile games, not the video games. Physical exercise has to be done. Or some other exercise, some outdoor games. That is very important. Don't only child passes the things regularly. Now sometimes one of the method that I used to follow sometime is I will tell them take one glass of hot water, warm water, added with one teaspoon of sugar and added with 1 teaspoon of ghee and give him to drink in the morning hours and evening hours along with all these suggestions, advice. So now this particular ghee and as well as glucose. So that helps a lot because glucose we know that it is an osmotic laxative and ghee is anyway a lubricating agent. So this helps a lot, but of course if you give in excess it may lead to the osmotic diarrhea. That's a different issue, but in the little quantity this also helps a lot whenever there's a constipation. Some of the yogic posture can be practiced that I already told. So this is how actually we can manage this habitual constipation. Now last one is self-awareness. You have to counsel the baby. Okay. and you have to give the confidence. Now, one of the main problem what actually happens is in the habitual constipation, most of the parents what they're doing the mistake is when the child is not passing the stool, there's a hard stool, pellet like stool, so they go to a physician. Now physician will give some of the laxatives. So when he give a laxative, child passes the stool. What happens is whole colon is get emptified. Okay, because usually up to sigmoid colon there is collection of this stool in the rectum, it is stored. Okay, now whole colon is get emptified. Now child, the parents were very happy. Child at the end, child passed the stool. Now what happens? Colon is emptified. Again, to form the same level of the stool, child require at least 3 days. Okay, so now again parents are worried the child is again not passing the stool for 3 or 4 days. So they go to another doctor. Another doctor give another laxative. Now whatever the amount of the stool which is formed there, that is also passed. For the next 4 days again there is no stool passing. Now this vicious cycle continues. This vicious cycle will going to continue. Okay, so this is a problem with the habitual constipation. Okay, so laxatives in habitual constipation, actually laxative is not the answer. It is not the solution. Correction, as I told, this is the main solution for this. Okay, laxatives are the temporary solutions. But unless and until you correct this lifestyle, food habits, diet, and this food and exercise, okay, so these things will not be corrected. So this is all about habitual constipation, one of the most common problem in the pediatric OPD. And all the constipation does not need any laxatives. Only some of the pathological conditions may lead sometimes laxatives. So, but when the child is not at all passing, and when this particular treatment is not done properly, when the child is not passing, and because of which he has got abdominal discomfort and all those things, we have to go for the laxatives. But at least what I am telling is, you should understand that laxative is a temporary method, laxatives or enemas, whatever. Okay, this is not a permanent method. It's a temporary relief, symptomatic treatment. And what we have to do is this. This particular schedule has to be followed. You have to correct the fluid intake. You have to correct the exercise time. You have to correct the lifestyle. You have to correct the sleep hygiene, food hygiene. Okay, posture, even posture, the amount of the food which is taken, then unwanted snacks in between, then sitting as a family and taking the food. Okay, then some of the toilet training methods and confidence. Okay, so this is very important. Now one more problem is it's very common in children, small kids especially, the toilet training. Sometimes toilet training is done in excess, sometimes in less. Some of the anxious parents, they may try the baby to go, they will go with over conscious, and they go for over toilet training. So the child is confused. So child is not getting the urge. Still the mother is telling that compulsorily making the baby sit in the toilet. Now child is not having the urge. At least when he is having the urge, it has to be done. Sometimes it is underdone. Okay, so child is having that problem. That time mother is not responding. So these problems are there in the small kids. But once the school going children, when it is happening, because of this, stress is one of the important factors. Because of the stress, okay, as I told, the school environment and home environment, and there is no proper place for the passing of this. These are the initial issues which create this habitual constipation. Okay, so stress is also one of the very important aspects which leads to this constipation. Construction of the smooth muscles. Whenever sympathetic stimulation takes place in the intestinal mucosal area, construction of the smooth muscle will be there, and there is a closure of the sphincters. So this is also this can also happen during the time of the stress. So this is all about the constipation, and what Ayurveda says about the treatment of constipation is same. And if you expect that in Ayurveda there is some of the drugs for the constipation, it is wrong. Okay, drugs for the habitual constipation, it is wrong. There are so many pathological conditions, for that we have got the drugs. So Ayurveda also explains the same basic things, that how you have to manage this constipation. And these are the key points in the management of habitual constipation, not all the type of constipation, habitual constipation. So with this we conclude. Thank you very much.